All right.
Okay. Very good. All right. We're 3 after. Welcome to another Meshery community meeting. Pay no attention to the grandmotherly knickknacks I have in the background here. I'm traveling today, so this week is Scale out in Pasadena, California. So fortunately for me, I get to visit some family. That's nice. It looks like we've got Pranav is with us, Pavan, and Girish. Be sure to record your attendance in the meeting minutes, and as always, we are recording, and so be on your best behavior. Looks like one of our other regulars, Vanil, messaged just a little bit ago that he's also at this same conference with me, Scale. So hopefully we'll get to meet up in person, and that'll be good. That'll be nice. With that, let's jump over into the meeting minutes. Sounds like Girish, you may have an update in terms of some of the changes to Meshery. Sounds like there was very good. I think this time, in terms of a general community update, a couple of things for us to go over, and then maybe we can do a round table. In terms of, I know Pranav has made some movement, so has Pranav, and so have you, Girish. So the general update is, a couple of the Aspen Mesh folks reached out to join. So Zach and Niraj. Zach being heading up marketing in Aspen Mesh, and Niraj, I think, leading up probably a few different things, but one of them being vet. And so he was interested in the integration effort that we'd given and that Vanil had led, that they're looking to join to discuss that and make sure that we had a good integration. We also had a cloud native engineer at Microsoft, Nick, whose last name I need to go look up, but Nick B was very excited by it when he learned of the project, and so I half expected him to see him here today, so we want to make sure we invite them. And then we ended up speaking with the Istio CNI, or the contributors of Istio CNI. And you can see kind of a long chat that we had in the general channel. So if anyone's looking to come to understand how Istio integrates with CNI, in the general channel in our Slack account, you can see that. And then I think the only other maybe general update for everyone here is just a reminder that we'd previously recorded upcoming demonstrations, and so the next of which happening, well, actually, somewhat ironically, or coincidentally rather, I think 2 of them happening on the same day, on Tuesday, March 12th. So I'm going to take an action item to send the details of those meetings into our Slack channel so that anyone who wants to join can. So one of those demonstrations will be to the CNCF, a working group, and the other one to an Istio working group. Other than that, I think that's probably the only general updates. Girish, do you have a general update with respect to the Octarine service mesh folks?
No, we don't. Yeah.
Okay, so they're kind of tentatively, or rather, I think they committed to contributing an adapter, but just haven't made material progress just yet.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Any other general updates? Okay. Okay. Well, with that, I'll hand it over to you guys for updates from each of you. And so whoever would like to go first, don't be shy.
Lee, I'm actually typing some of the updates from the team in general. I was working with Prateek mainly in helping with their setup of a Kubernetes environment, plus getting Meshery to work with it. We did have some challenges with with setting up the Kubernetes environment, but Meshery just ran especially the new updates with the Docker Compose made it a lot easier. So as of yesterday, Prateek has a functional environment where he's able to test all the pieces. This was the update I got from Prateek as of 24 hours back. Pawan and I actually had several chats during this week, and we met yesterday evening. Discussed some of the infrastructure stuff, and I think Pawan already mentioned that he completed most of the terraforming stuff. So I've kind of recorded that as well. Apart from that, one other thing is Vinyl's PR. It's not yet merged. There was a reason because his PR was actually done with a static client, in the sense with a Kubernetes native client. But all the other pieces which I've done are actually using the dynamic client. So I've just not had the chance to get back to it and look at it. So which is the reason why his PR is still in the same state. So these are kind of the general updates, based on what I've heard from the team. Other than that, I was able to make some progress with Meshery in terms of displaying and comparing results, which I'll hopefully demonstrate today or present in the next few minutes. So these are general updates from my side, reflecting some of the information I've got from others, but yeah.
Did I mention that my father-in-law is a carpenter? Okay. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I'm going to go back on mute, let you guys speak some more.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the updates from my side. Unless you guys have any other updates. The call with or the chat with the STO CNI person yesterday was very informative. He actually was way good in terms of what he was doing. So a chat with him trying to understand what he was talking about in the other community meeting was actually very helpful. So for sure, yeah, that was an amazing conversation. Other than that, actually, I do have one thing, which is the STO 1.1 performance document, or it's a performance sizing tuning guidance document, which we can probably bring up, during this call and have a discussion. I'm pretty sure, it'll be in line with what Pranav and Prateek, might be interested in looking at. There's Prateek, so awesome. So the STO 1.1 performance document, might be very interesting to both Prateek and Pranav. So hopefully, we can actually bring it up and share it with them and go from there. The other thing is actually the specification, the spec. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. Let's no. Go ahead, Prateek.
Hey, I'm sorry, I was in a different meeting. I just joined a bit late, it went on for a bit more. Hi everyone. I missed the last meeting as well. I was out of station on an interview. Sorry about that. Yeah.
We forgive you. We're happy to have you respect. Yeah, very good.
Sorry, G, you can continue.
So I was just so the last point was that we have a recent performance update document from the STO team, which might be of interest to you guys. So we'll probably bring it up, and I know the document is a bit long, but it's something we can briefly have a touch on, and then you guys can probably take a look at it probably during this week. That was one.
What is this document about exactly?
It's in general about how Istio 1.1, the guys before they're releasing how they are documenting their performance. It contains a whole lot of information, about the performance of each and everything, how it compares with the previous version, etc. So there's a lot of information. So maybe that's something you guys would be more interested.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
The last but not least.
You know what? On that particular topic, let me speak to that for a second. And actually, I'm gonna bring up. Well, yeah, I guess I've got a few different docs up, but so one of those docs is a live an O'Reilly live online training that we're getting ready to do for Istio. Anyway, back to Girish's point. Here's the other document on that comes out of the Istio Performance and Scalability Working Group. IBM and Google, it's by and large those two groups that perform much of the performance testing and scale testing for Istio. There are a number of large users of Istio that participate in that meeting. Most notably this week, a couple of guys from Shopify were there to give some input and feedback about their experience with Istio at scale. And so as part of that overall effort, that working group has been putting together something of a document to speak to Istio 1.1 performance, how you might size a deployment, and how you might tune a deployment, bringing that guidance together. Part of the document reviews performance tests that they've been doing, release over release. So very much so relevant to our our focus.
Is it like something like the IBM people were doing something of that sort, or
it's the
can you share the document?
Yes, we can share the document, and it is the exact same folks. This is the exact same project that we've been looking at, the IBM BluePerf, the Acme Air sample app, and they've been running, since it is IBM doing it, they've been doing a lot of it on their own IKS, IBM Kubernetes service. And in some of these tests, they compare, V1 to V11, having run the same test. And so these are excellent fodder for us performing, facilitating both in Meshery, but also just whether they're conveniently facilitated in Meshery, or you can just use Meshery to perform some of the same tests. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is whether Meshery has these exact tests baked in as a button that you can.
Like if we can look at if we can reproduce those results via the Meshery platform. Yeah.
Totally. And in some respect, I think if you took that at face value, you might say, well, how valuable is that? Like, is it worth repeating the same test? And it's like, well, the most prominent reason to do so, there's a number of reasons that I think that we've discussed in the past about why it makes sense to kind of, quote unquote, to redo some of this work. One is because once we've been able to, one is because this is a great example of a team that's focused on performance and understanding what metrics and what types of tests that they consider to be important to spend time on. Because I think as you guys have looked at this, there's all kinds of permutations and combinations of different tests and environments that you can do performance measurements within. That this is a good indicator for us in terms of where to spend the time in Meshery, what tests to run, but then taking these tests and running them against the other meshes is going to be fantastic insight and almost ideal that we would do it in a similar fashion as to what the Istio performance working group has been doing, because that will be a similar frame of reference.
Yeah.
So I do have an ask. So I am going to try to share this document during this meeting. That two asks. I think that the one critique you already hit home, which is, hey, we should rerun some of those tests. Absolutely, we should make sure that Meshery facilitates for those. And Girish, I'm kind of looking at you for in this next one. But if Meshery is able to conveniently facilitate those by having a baked-in test type, whether that's like concurrency of 1,000 concurrent connections for 5 minutes, or if we can help facilitate the easy repetition of some of those tests, that might be good to work toward over time. But the other request that I have, guys, is that we revisit our design doc for Meshery, in which what we've begun to articulate is, hey, we think that we should measure latency and CPU overhead and memory consumption and etc. Like, there's various things that we were calling out initially. As we reflect on this document, we should probably go back and update our approach. Get more specifics.
Yeah.
The third reason why it makes sense to repeat some of these tests is because Pratik, you're running. We're going to take this to a variety of different hardware environments or infrastructure environments, and so you guys have one, and then we collectively have access to the Texas Advanced
Computing Center,
and then we're going to get access to the CNCF's infrastructure lab. And so anyway, that's the third reason to rerun some of these, is because an interesting insight that I recall off the top of my head about the variety of insights this document that this team has come to is that specific to IBM Kubernetes service, specific to IKS, not like AWS and Azure and GCP, they have a load balancing service. They have an ALB. I think IBM is even maybe borrowing some of the same terminology from AWS in that regard. They call it an ALB, an application load balancer, which isn't really borrowing since that's such a generic term. But point is the technology underneath the ALB, the application load balancer on IBM Kubernetes service, is Nginx. And Nginx, whom I've yet to go know this, but will very shortly, would be very interested to hear that of one of the types of tests that this team was running, they had higher throughput, higher performance when Nginx was used as the Istio gateway, as the Istio ingress, than when Envoy was used, which is is really interesting insight. And by interesting, I mean,
and it was the same hardware-based setup, or like they just brought their own IKS. I think you mentioned like the so the IKS with Nginx was performing better than the IKS with Envoy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Let me see if we can kind of break it down. So if you guys can, so this is results of I think 2 different tests. So if we look at this first figure, this first collection of figures, this is the amount of CPU consumed, cluster CPU distribution with no Istio for this
are you sharing your screen?
Oh man, wow, this entire time I've not been sharing. Yeah. Oh man, I was waving my mouse frantically at various areas of my screen. I can't believe you guys didn't. Okay. Sorry, I thought I was sharing the doc the entire time. Okay. So you guys, so some of these, Pratik and Pranav, you've seen some of these in a slide format before. Those same charts. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
was it slide? It was a spreadsheet. I mean,
it was perfect. Yeah.
are being pulled out and put into a longer form Word doc that just sort of writes up what some of the tests were about. It's an excellent document, right? What the tests were about and what some of the results and what the insights gleaned were. And of the one of the specific tests or environments that I was talking about was like the amount of CPU consumed when you use two different types of ingress gateways. So if we digest and read aloud these charts, these first two figures is saying that the this is tracking the percentage of, I don't know how many nodes are in the cluster. I think the document says up above, but it doesn't really
Okay.
matter. So
I mean, it seems like the nodes are same for both the graphs. So yeah, we can just look at the percentage utilization by the applications and stuff.
perfect, yeah. So given that that's a constant, we can ignore it.
Yeah.
In this, so this environment, this is the CPU distribution with no Istio running this sample app Acme Air on IBM's Kubernetes service IKS. It looks
Okay.
like so no mesh. The app was taking up 10%. The application load balancer that they were using was taking up 1%. Okay, over here they put that same app, same nodes, same environment, but now they put it on Istio 1.1, and so Istio is taking up, in this environment based on all the other variables and etc. That Istio is taking up 20% average CPU utilization across the. Okay, but
Yeah.
so and what you can see is like.
But I'm also assuming that the throughput for the one with IKS and STO would be higher as well. But yeah, we need to rerun the experiments to see what are we actually benefiting by giving up this much of CPU
Right.
resources.
Right. Of this second set, this is really what I was trying to say earlier, that I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
there's a number of interesting insights that came out. I said Nginx may be interested in this insight, which is here's the sample app running on Istio 1.1 when it's using Nginx as the application load balancer. And here is the same sample app running on Istio 1.1. In this case, my understanding is that it's written a bit different than what I understood, but
Mm-hmm.
because it looks like the difference being that in peer-to-peer security was enforced here, but I think the difference that they were trying to highlight was that Nginx was the Istio gateway, the ingress, whereas over here, Envoy was the technology used as the ingress, and that the difference in how much the 1% CPU that Nginx takes up versus the higher percentage. I don't know. Actually, I'm a little bit concerned about. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't.
We might need to look into what the exact services were. Yeah, I mean, I can go through the documents in detail and try to figure out what the graphs really mean.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, because it now of what I was saying, it does concern me a little bit, because I think that those two graphs were trying to compare encryption and no encryption, but
Oh, yeah,
they
that
did
would make sense. Yeah.
also call out the ALB versus no ALB. So I'm a little bit. So hopefully the text inside the document explains the tests a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
so I'll be I'll get this to you guys. I can do that while we are talking about a couple of other things. So that was one I think that's very informative. We should definitely digest it holistically. We should update our design docs based on it. We should try to make sure that our Meshery itself facilitates for those tests. I don't know if we're going to be able to perform all the same ones, but I think it would be very helpful to the Istio community if we at least repeated a few of those same ones.
Yeah, and we can look into porting the app, the Acme app as well, so that we will have some kind of comparison exactly how they had.
Totally. I'm going to try to update, or feel free if anyone else wants to update the notes as we go. Update the notes to reflect that. Another topic, Grish, that you had brought up is that if we take a moment to go revise the benchmark specification, that once we have a first draft, we can share that with other service mesh projects, and they can begin to bear weight on that spec. Does everyone? I'm not sure that everyone's familiar with what that spec is. So, not as a direct, an explicit goal of Meshery, but one that's something of an outshoot, is the notion that there can be a common format for describing and not capturing, but for describing the environment and the type of tests that a given test runs, like a given benchmark ran. I think you need to store the results of the test separately. But if the goal here of this type of a specification was to say, hey, these are the environmentals for this test. This many nodes of this size and this type of an environment. Of this build of what mesh that was, of what build it was. All of those details is the first part. The second part is what a bit of the configuration of the mesh itself. So did it have telemetry turned on, and how often was it sampling, etc. And the other bit to it was what tests did you actually perform? Was it 1,000 requests a second for 5 minutes, or what was the type of test? So if we reflect on this and ask ourselves earnestly if trying to create a standard benchmark, a performance benchmark, is beneficial to the community or not. One, I want to ask you guys that question, so start thinking about that. Before you answer, I'll say that there are standards bodies that work on and put forth specifications like this. Garish, when we talked with Surya a few weeks ago, do you recall the standards body that he had noted? Or did we put?
We did make notes. Yeah, we did take notes in this document, but I don't remember if we made a note of that body.
Okay, I'll try to find that body, but I guess my question to you guys is, do you feel like, is that going to be helpful to the public, to the community at large, if we're able to say, look, here's a uniform way of describing your environmentals and your test, and then that way, well, I think my thinking was maybe a couple of things. One, that we've got to describe that somehow inside of Meshery anyway, and that to the extent that we're trying to facilitate inter-mesh compatibility, or apples to apples comparison, that being able to have an independent document would be helpful, in so much as IBM is going to continue to run BluePerf against Acme Air in IKS, right? IBM is going to continue to run their Istio performance tests. they're all into Istio as the mesh that they want, that they're behind. Obviously they help start Istio. And they're going to keep running these performance tests and keep publishing them. And they're going to use their own tooling. They're not going to, they might use Meshery. I mean, they were excited that we're doing the project, but they're clearly invested into their proprietary closed-sourced BluePerf tooling. That if we have a common format, we can interchange between them and have some common language. The same thing for Google. They're using a bunch of scripts around Fort.io to perform all of the tests that they're performing. And that if we're using a common format, that between these three projects, we might be able to interchange them and have a common language, that we would then be able to use this common format, that we would then take this common format to Buoyant, the Linkerd folks, the HashiCorp, the Console Connect folks, AWS, the App Mesh folks. Does anyone else anyone else have reflections there? See the value in that? See it as...
Yeah, I think that would be a benefit, but like you mentioned, like IBM uses their own tooling to get their performance statistics, metrics, everything, and so does Google. Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah, and
but like, do we have any do we know what kind of things are they focusing on? And I mean, if IBM and Google format do not really reconcile with each other, then I see a benefit in that, but I'm not sure how far can we get with it. Like, we need to look at what kind of configurations do each of them support, and can we have a common format which makes sense with both Google and IBM.
Pratik, it's good feedback, and maybe I'll regurgitate what you said and say, look, the specification it's probably only compelling to the extent that Meshery is successful and well adopted. It would be subsequent to the success and prominent use of Meshery, that people would then be interested in, or the other projects would be interested in providing using some sort of common language, to be able to compare and exchange tests.
Okay.
Or right. I mean, yeah. Anyway, so this being kind of a secondary effort, but and one that we really haven't discussed much because it is such a secondary thing. The reason I'm bringing it up now is because of the conversations that I've had with those other project teams. They have some of them have said, well, we're not real sure if we can spare the engineering time per se, to go write an adapter for Meshery, but we do want to review before you publish any test results. We sure do want to review how you configured our mesh, what environment you ran it in, if you ran specific types of tests that were particularly, that our mesh is particularly poorly positioned to handle well. Basically they want to make sure that they're not going to be misrepresented. That if we were able to exchange this specification with them, this document that says, well, this is the type of environment, this is the configuration of your mesh, and these are the types of tests, that this spec might help in that regard as well. And so they had been much more willing to sign up to review the spec than they had necessarily to go and write code to contribute an adapter. Okay, cool. So I'm glad we talked about that. Let me be quiet and let us reflect a bit more. Maybe Girish, I think you gave an update kind of on behalf of Pavan, Pratik, and Pranav. But I'm gonna be quiet and let you guys give your own updates as well to characterize this maybe a bit differently, and speak to where you're headed next week, with your efforts?
Yeah, so for myself and Pranav, I was looking through at the document, and we did face a bit of weird issues while setting up the Meshery and the STO service, and the book info app. So right now we have all those set up, and I was running some of the tests, some of the uh, load tests, and I did notice that like I was running other monitoring tools for like how much is my resource utilization happening, and for the few tests that I ran, I was not really being bottlenecked on any one of the like CPU or memory or any of these resources. So I was thinking of running like really high load tests, like 10,000 requests over 30 minutes or something of that sort, and trying to look at what the distributions are, and if we are ever being bottlenecked on any of the hardware resources, or should we just look at network interactions, and if like probably give some feedback on what other kind of graphs should we prioritize to bring it on the Meshery UI of that sort. That's what my thought process was.
Garish, do you have the Meshery UI handy? Because actually just having this discussion over that as a backdrop might be helpful, particularly to that last piece that Pratik was speaking to. Because
Absolutely.
One of the things that
absolutely.
One of the things that in part to what Pratik had initially said was, hey, I found myself leveraging some other, basically when we want to measure things other than latency and throughput, things other than what Ford.io measures, there is going to be the need to retrieve those metrics from Prometheus, from the, and then probably the need to critique. A lot of times when people are monitoring a given the performance of a given application, a lot of times they end up with multiple charts on the same dashboard. And a lot of times kind of the convention is like you've got one chart up top, and as soon as Garish puts it up, I won't have to do hand signals, but you've got one chart up top that shows like latency for or throughput for your app. And then down beneath on the same time frame, what the percentage CPU utilization was or the memory consumption was at that same time. So Garish, I know we've talked about what it looks like to potentially have a couple of Chart.js charts on the same page, or to potentially embed some Grafana charts.
Absolutely. Yeah. So once we have some, well, again, like there are multiple points. Like so we definitely are progressing in that direction. I think we did bring this up, where I think I can even bring up the Grafana, from ASTO install. Is that yeah, definitely those charts are very valuable, and there are a lot of charts, but definitely we could actually have a dashboard experience here, which definitely is something I definitely I have in my mind, but before we actually ventured in that direction, I just needed to get some other stuff done, which is the reason why we haven't yet gone there. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that'll be that'll be fantastic actually.
We had discussed this, I think, a couple of weeks back about this. That is why I brought up I'll try to look into the load tests and try to give feedback that what kind of charts are more important than as I was mentioning that the compute utilization was not being the bottleneck. So we can, since we are a bit short on the engineering side, we can prioritize what kind of charts are more valuable than others, rather than porting all the Definitely, I see a benefit in putting all the Grafana charts onto the dashboard, but we can probably prioritize some over the others.
Awesome.
Nice. Very good. Good. It's encouraging to hear you speak to it, Pratik. We're no, your hands are getting dirty on the project, which is good. Fair enough. And then so Pranav and Pavan, you guys want to talk about focus for next week?
In my case, I think I completed this Terraform for deploying of VPC, EC2 instance and API gateway and everything, but still I need to finalize. I need some more time, hardly 1 or 2 hours to spend on this to complete it EC2 instance to the API gateway. So once that is done, I think I need to work on creation of Docker containers in the EC2 instance. Probably I need to go deeper into that, how to create. I'm not sure whether we can create it using Terraform or I need to find it out the ways. EC2 instance, once the EC2 instance comes up, maybe we can do Docker containers, whatever containers. I think at present we have 2 containers running in EC2 instance, right? Probably we can make it as automate using Terraform. Probably I'm not sure. I have to check it. That.
Pavan, it is possible. So
okay, then
yeah, we should be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, then I'll complete that. That's okay.
Awesome.
And Girish, in your mind, is ensuring the dependency of first of all, I think certain EC2 AWS, Amazon Linux images come with Docker runtime already there.
They do, yes.
Okay, so it's probably a no op in this case, but to the extent that it wasn't, you could use things like Cloud Init to assist with the initial provisioning of certain resources as well. So in this case, actually,
pretty much. Yeah, so Terraform has this user data concept, when spinning up the EC2 instances, so you just need to give it the user data, which is, it can be any shell script. So, literally you can just give it the command and it'll just run it, when the EC2 instance comes up. So pretty straightforward there.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't check that at, but definitely I will go deeper and checking on how to write the Docker containers in EC2. Definitely, I'll come up with for the next week on this.
Awesome. Pawan, I have the stuff ready, so maybe right after this call, I can just send it to you. So maybe that'll help you, sort of save you some time. So.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Awesome, guys. All right.
Do you want me to give that quick demo on this Terraform, or it's not required? It's up to you.
Yes, just after Pranav speaks to what he's doing this next week, and then yeah, that'd be great to see just an iterative demo of the work that you've gotten done.
Okay.
Yeah, so Lee, I'm working on a separate line for my master's thesis. So I'm mostly collaborating with Pratik, helping him with getting Meshery up and stuff. So yeah, so next week I'll probably just collaborate with him again to run load tests, check the graphs, and provide insights on them.
Perfect. Even if you didn't have the other project focus, maybe almost ideal that you guys are just doubling down on the same environment, providing each other kind of partner programming, if you will, kind of the back and forth feedback. It's a good.
Yeah. I mean, it helps having a different set of eyes to look at those similar errors. Yeah.
All right, Pawan, go ahead, grab the ball. Pawan?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was in the mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just let me go through that each and every. I mean, like it won't take much time, but like let me go through it. Like I have created a VPC which is like Cedar block of 10 dots, 10 dots, 0.016, and like I have created two subnets. One is for the public subnet, where our EC2 instance is going sit into this public subnet, and as we have a database like so, like probably the database DB is going to visit in this private subnet 10.10.20.0/24, and we have a secure. I have created a security group and like given access for the port for Cedar Block, and as well as we have a 9876 port given access for from the outside world to connect it. And we have a route table. I have created a route table for routing. Just give me a second. I have created an internet gateway and as well as the route table association where I created the route table associations to this for connection of. I'm not sure about that. Like, yeah, fine. Like, but like, yeah, internet gateway is for connecting to the EC2 instance for like to connect to the EC2 instance. A part of the like, we don't require internet gateway over here. And as well as like we need to get internet to the EC2 instance. Like if there any update we need to do, like we have to do that. And I have created an API gateway, and the API gateway has I have the resources and HTTP methods and integration. What we had a discussion, Girish, like so. I just created everything over here, and I feel it's working fine. But like I just need your first glance on, let me know like I need to do any changes over there, and the EC2 instance and the DynamoDB. Let me grab quick.
And Pavan, Greece, correct me if I'm wrong, but Pavan, one thing to do is that AMI the AMI number that you're using is to go take and confirm that image already has Docker pre-installed, because it probably is. It probably already is there and is not something you have to separately address.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if the one he is using has, but we sure can figure it out. Or there are some certified ones, like, which have Docker pre-installed, so we can probably just start off with that. Yeah.
So by this time I just run a command Terraform apply, and like so everything is applied for the from the text file what he created, and like so let me go into my screen and see the EC2 instance. Still running. I mean, like it's in the pending state by the time. Let us go to the VPC. Well, I have an VPC Meshery has been created, and like Cedar port, like I have 10.10.16, and like subnets. There are two subnets over here. Like one is EST 2A and 2B. And I have a route table. Like by default there is also one route table, but I like it's good practice to create another route table and add a routes to that. And so I added the same thing. Internet gateway. I have an internet gateway is created over here, like which is shows Meshery like name and network is here. I think we are good over here in VPC. Let's go back to the EC2 instance, and EC2 instance is created, and like we got a public IP address and as well as private IP address, and the security group. If we enter the security group, it should have inbound traffic of 20 and 9876 with I mean, maybe I need to change this IP address. Like, if it's not required from outside world, like I need to block this. But as of now, I just kept it as from the outside network and go back to the API gateway. If you go to the API gateway, we have a Meshery API gateway and the resources are like the resource has been created. And like if you go to the any like we have, I'm like, as for the timing, I just given the URI as google.com, and like we have an stages over here, and like production stage has been created. I mean, like me and Girish had discussion that like this one need to be connected to the. I mean, like there is some work need to be done on invoke URL to make it for bring the certification from AWS and make it run with our own specific URL, and so I need to work on that, but like. I'm not sure like how much time it's going to be take. I can't promise that I can complete it by next week, but like sure, definitely I'll come back on this. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. That URL actually reminds me a good question for Pratik and Pranav. Have the in the environment where you've got Meshery deployed, have you've been successful in authenticating through either Twitter or GitHub in your Meshery deployment?
Yeah, we were using like the Twitter authentication.
Okay.
For our.
Okay, very good, and no hiccups there. It sounds like so.
No, we were having some other Istio, like the book and info app hiccups, but nothing on the Meshery UI.
Nice. Okay, good. And Pavan, nice. Pavan, this is twice as much infrastructure described through being managed through Terraform as was the last time we spoke. So good progress.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Do we? Is it really just the certification? I'm sorry. The certificate that is left here. I think it's the certificate. It's the confirming of the AMI image that's being used as having Docker in it.
Like EC2 instance need to have a Docker images. Like let me complete that one as well.
Okay.
EC2 instance need to have 2 Docker containers, right? Like let me complete that, and then like I'll come with the certificate part.
Okay. And so Girish, it sounds like as you send him over what we've got now, it sounds like that'll pretty much take care of the EC2 config, the AMI image ID. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, let me just do a quick recap of some of the action items to make sure that we've got them captured. So for my part, I need to send over meeting invitation details to a couple of the upcoming Meshery demos, so that you guys can attend and participate if you want to. Warning: if you attend, I will call you out and recognize you for the work that you've done. So I encourage you to attend. I will also probably send each of you some slides for review, both slides that describe the project kind of overall, and I will likely end up putting your names in there as well. So please do review to make sure I'm representing you and your works well. I think those are the only actions on my part.
Cool. Yeah, I have one action item. I have to just help Pawan with some more details, the user data that needs to be executed, when the EC2 mission is coming up. I think that's pretty much my action item for him. Yeah. And of course, We have 1 minute. I can probably show Meshery.
Okay.
Guys, if there isn't anything else, like, can I just share the screen?
Please.
Right. Authentication. Okay, so you guys can see my screen. This is the Meshery. So some of the changes, like, have been in the UI, like, where I've just increased the width of the container to better utilize the space. In the performance configure play sections, there have not been much changes. The only change is actually this new section. It's called results. Now, one of the main pieces of Meshery is that, like, so every time we run a load test, it is also persisting the results using Meshery SaaS, which at the moment is actually on AWS. The results are stored in Dynamo, but for testing, like, I have a local Dynamo, and so I'm actually using that now. Till date, like, we've only been pushing results to the remote endpoint, like, to persist it. So one of the other interesting things we wanted to do with Meshery was actually to fetch the results and present it to the users, like, so that they can consume it in some form. So this new section was actually created to address that. So this is kind of an initial version. So we have a table which actually fetches the data from Dynamo. I've just highlighted some of the attributes, like, up front. And again, like, all this is actually fetching data from the remote Meshery SaaS endpoint. So the results are paged. There are some challenges when you're using Dynamo. It's not easy to quickly get the total number of results or make it searchable, at least, like, for now. So for the initial version, like, I have the remote endpoint just feed data to the UI. And you can see, like, the results are paged. So I think we have like around 64 results. So that comes to like 7 pages with last 4 results on this page. Now, the other functionalities is that these results are not fun if we just want to see pages after pages. Of course, like, searching is a functionality that will get added probably in the next week. Now, the other interesting thing is actually the charting. So if you expand the row, it'll actually chart out the chart for that particular row of data. So the same way, like, you can actually have multiple charts, like you can visually compare them this way, and so on and so forth. So you can actually do this, like, for every row in the table. But again, like, now since the results are paged, it's not easy to actually compare them across pages. So what I've done is I've actually made this selection persist across pages. So right now it says it's one row selected and we are on page 1. So I'm just going to go to a different page, select a different row, and you can see the number of rows got updated, and so on and so forth. And then at the right top, like, so I have this compare selected view, like, where it'll compare all the selected charts. So here, this is a complex chart, like, where it actually is comparing 4 data points. So they're vertically distinguished. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, essentially, and you can actually hover over them and interact with them, as you would, like, with any chart.
And this is
now the way this works is
this is Chart.js as well. Same.
This is Chart.js. Yeah, same Chart.js. Okay. Now, the way this works is that if you click on one, of course, like, you can expand and see the chart. But if you just click on one and, like, hit compare selected, you will see the single chart. Now, if you click on 2 and hit this, you'll see 2 charts overlaid over one another. But then from 3 onwards, it actually switches. Now, again, this is not something totally new. This is I'm piggybacking on what 4IO does. So more than 3 and more charts, like, will actually use this. So you can now see three vertical points, and, like, so all the other values are actually, graphed around that. So the same way, if you actually use 4, you'll see 4 columns, and so on and so forth. So, so now since this is across pages, you can actually go crazy and, like, compare how many ever you want. So so that's 6. Yep. So this was one of the, like, the major work, like, that got done this week. Of course, like, so the backend has the support, Meshery has the support, and the Meshery UI has the support. So, but these changes have not yet been merged to master. They're still in the branch. I'm just working on some other fine tuning stuff. Once those are fine tuned, I'll be merging into master. Now, one other thing is this deselection. So here, it shows that 6 rows are selected, but we know that it's across pages. If we just want to deselect the selection within this page, you can actually use the button here at the top, which will deselect the things on that one particular page. But if we want to deselect across all pages, you can use the one at the top. So if you click on that, you can see that it deselected all the items across all the pages. That's pretty much it. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, the functionality here will be extended, with search, and maybe sorting. I'm not sure, how much Dynamo is going to support, but I'm going to spend some time there. But yeah.
Is this capability merged? Or
no, it is in my branch. I was probably right after this meeting, or maybe towards the end of today.
Okay.
I'll merge it and push a new Docker image.
That's great. Yeah, and so good. It would be great to get into Pratik's hands as he. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, he likes to see colors. I totally get it. The other thing was. While we were, just meddling with the Grafana instance, I was just looking at the possibility to get the chart from here into a separate page. And so what I've done is I've just taken the top 2 charts and I've embedded it on a new HTML page, and you can see that it is getting the chart. But the interesting thing I'm noticing is that, when the chart was created, you can see the time stops at 3:54 my time, but here the current chart is already at 56 or something. So. And now it's at 4:04. So yeah, I can keep refreshing here, but I don't see a way to do it when we embed it on a separate page. So that's something, even if I reload, it doesn't make any difference. It's still stuck at that particular range. So that's going to be an interesting thing with how we get the charts from Grafana. Or, worst case, just go the Prometheus route, where we go talk to Prometheus, fetch the data, and string it to some charts in the UI. That's pretty much what I have to show. Given the time, I'm just not opening up for discussion. It's not that I shouldn't, but if you guys are okay with time, I'd be very happy to discuss, any changes you like, or how do you like the UI overall, etc. Sorry, I know we are already 6 minutes past time. Yeah, I know you like more colors, but I'll probably add more contrast.
Nice.
Make every chart look different.
I think Pratik had a comment.
No. I am pretty okay with the current UI. So.
It's me. Okay.
Awesome.
Gentlemen, yeah, very good. You will get some communication from me this week, probably this weekend. Both some of the slides, the copy of the document that we reviewed, etc. So be on the lookout. Anybody have anything else? Some good progress. Very good. We seem to end the meeting on asking Girish to merge each week. So we'll just do it again. Go ahead.
Sounds good.
Nice. All right, guys. I'll go. I'll tell you about how the Scale conference was next week. Actually, literally next week, I'm presenting out at the Open Source Leadership Summit. So I'll be traveling that week as well. But we'll be. Oh, I've got to go look at the flight. I'm pretty sure I will send word if I'm literally on a flight. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Same time.
Sounds good.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.